Hello, this is Revolutionize the Game, and today we're going to be talking about the haptic Braille output for a game controller. This is a patent filed by Microsoft, and I think it is a really cool step into the future of accessibility controllers. This is something I actually researched in college with the Haptic Band by Haptic Vision. We were formerly New Play. This was a project I worked on with 8 other people back 2 years ago. Maybe like 1.5 years ago. The idea of this was a device that gives blind users access to textual information and object recognition. What does that mean? Well, a simple case scenario for the textual information is like you're at a lecture hall, the professor did not upload the slides, and you need to read them. How do you do that if you're blind? You know? Do you ask someone for the lecture notes at the end? It's like maybe there's something they put on the board that's like, this is going to be important, and it's like, well, can you say that out loud so I can like hear it? So basically what this does is takes the textual information, you set it up, you have this camera sensor right here, right? And we have the speaker necklace and camera sensor. It will actually like read the text on the lecture board, you know, stuff like that. So I'm just gonna leave these slides right here for you to read if you want to read it. But basically the two examples that we had were the lecture hall scenario, and the second scenario was grocery shopping, because that is a very difficult thing to do if you're blind. You know, even today, it's probably still a very hard thing to do 2 years on. So this device was sort of like, you know, it's like you can use it for lecture hall, but the real thing is for using it for like grocery shopping and stuff like that. So if I had like, let's say this calculator right here, right? This is a grocery. This is a napkin or whatever. I don't know why it's a napkin, but let's assume this is a napkin. So you would hold it up, you'd press the focus button, right? So you can hold it up with your right hand, you'd probably hold it up with your left, and then use your right hand like this. You press the focus button, and it basically scan it because you have the camera sensor right there. It sees the object, sees your hand recognition, like, oh, you're holding a calculator, or you're holding napkins and stuff like that. It tells you the brand, could tell you the price, things like that, if stores optimize it and things like that. And so basically that'd be your shopping experience. So you can go through the aisles and be like, okay, what is this aisle? What aisle am I in right now? And things like that to make the shopping experience easier and being able to do it without much assistance. So anyways, that's a lot of stuff. I might go into more detail later, but today we're here to talk about the haptic Braille output for a game controller, because this idea seems a lot more practical than my idea, where there's a lot of variables and things like that. So anyways, this device is basically an Xbox controller with paddles, you know, like the Elite Pro controller for the Xbox, but the paddles are used to type Braille. So instead of using the paddles for like extra game controllers, which you could still use, that's still an option. That's not like they're getting rid of that. But you could also type in Braille. So basically this haptic feedback controller would work as being able to type stuff in, being able to read stuff, and the way it reads stuff is a new method. So I talked about the sliding method for a Braille controller, right? Where you slide to read. That's basically how Braille works. If you have a book for Braille, you basically read line by line by swiping your finger. This would use all 6 fingers. So I think the middle display that you're seeing right here, that would be your traditional Braille device where you could do the sliding method. But the paddles would offer you a new input. So instead of using 1 finger, you're using 6, 1 for each of the dots that correspond to what a character could be, because you need the 6 dots depending on the position and how many dots are used in each 6 dot grid. So like how much are raised and how much are lowered. That basically tells you the characters. You can have your A through Z, your 0 through 9, stuff like that. This would work by vibrating only the parts of the character for each one. So like we can see here, the first one has 1 Braille raised at the top left hand corner. So you'd only feel that on the top left hand hand or finger, right? And so you basically would have to relearn Braille a bit. You wouldn't have to relearn everything because you know the character positions at this point. But you would relearn it, and then eventually you'd get used to it, and it'd just be second nature. So you can start reading characters, you could probably increase the speed, you can reduce the speed and stuff like that of the text going out and stuff like that. But I think this is a really cool way, this haptic feedback thing, in addition to just like, not just this haptic feedback, but extending that to not just for text, but they also talk about how it could be used for other things. You know, it could be used for Braille, but it could be used for other things. So like maybe you hit a wall or something like that, and so you could feel like, oh, here's a wall, you know, like you hit a wall, you feel the vibration on that corner of your finger. You get some you're playing a game and you want to know, like, am I going in the right direction, right? And so you could press a button and then you would feel the vibrations on those paddles to feel like, oh, I am going in the right direction, or oh, I need to go here, or a character's over in this direction, and then the vibration would increase intensity. So there's a lot of ways that developers could use this technology in more ways than just for Braille. So I think it's a pretty cool idea. You know, it seems interesting. There's a lot of stuff. So if you want to read it, I'll link to this post, and you can go and read the entirety of the 35-page document. But yeah, I think it's just a cool idea for the future. And as someone who has done research into this kind of field of advanced Braille technology, I think this is a cool step forward if we ever see it into the future. This is Revolutionize the Game saying, I hope you learned something today. I know I did when I researched Braille technology 2 years ago.